Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I want to say hello to everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Give me a yes in the chat if you can hear me okay. And also, today's conversation is actually going to center around this interesting Spotify racial controversy, I guess you might call it. Jemele Hill, who is a really great sports commentator, respected in her field, has literally dumped Spotify and shut down her entire podcast network, which is really interesting to me in terms of really discussing kind of what's really been going on in this world of media. Black faces in media. I'm not gonna say black owned media because Spotify is not owned by black people. So anyway, do me a favor. Um, Hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, don't forget that I have a new book out called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. It's an Amazon bestseller. Feel free to go take a look at that. And also, I'd like to quickly give a shout out to Aisha Verzi, who is a financial planner who is helping sponsor this podcast. So if you are looking to get help with insurance, index universal life funds, things like that, her phone number is right there. So call Aisha, tell her I sent you. She can help you out. She can help you get your financial life right. Everybody needs to plan for your finances. All right, so let's jump into this. How many of you, give me a yes or no if you know who Jemele Hill is? How many of you have heard of Jemele Hill, have seen her on the air, just seen her commentary? She's good. She knows what she's doing. She's smart. Her politics are interesting. I'll talk about that in a second. And but she's good at what she does. You cannot take that away from her ever. And Jamel is probably one of the most respected black female journalists in the country. Maybe just respected period, male, female, black, white, or whatever. So Jamel is good. I like Jamel. But again, I don't agree with her on certain issues, and I'm gonna talk about that because I think it's okay to disagree with friends. Give me a yes if you think it's okay to disagree and still love each other. If you believe that you can love each other and still disagree, give me a yes in the chat because I believe in diversity of thought in the black community. And I believe that we should get away from this idea that because I disagree with you, I hate your guts. I ain't gonna talk to you no more. I want to slap your mama. I don't want nothing to do with you. I think that's nonsense. I also really want to say this too, just my personal two cents. I don't think it makes sense for black people to dislike each other because one person's a Democrat, the other one's a Republican. That's called divide and conquer. That's divide and conquer. The Democrats and Republicans work for themselves. They do not work for you. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean you can't agree or disagree with them. But at the end of the day, they're going to take care of themselves. They're going to take care of each other. And so this idea that you will be divided with another black person just because they voted for somebody different from you, that is Neanderthal thinking. That's Neanderthal thinking. That's literally about as backward as ignorant as you can get. And I'm gonna tell you, whenever I see somebody that says, "Oh, I can't talk to my cousin no more because my cousin voted for Trump," I just kind of think that's a little bit weird because your cousin was there for you long before Joe Biden or Donald Trump ever showed up in your life. And somebody says you think it's just black people. Yeah, well, white people do it too. But here's the thing: I need to give you some information that may shock you. This may blow your mind. This is gonna really shock you. You ready? Y'all ready for some really shocking information? You're not white. I know that. I know. Back up. Wait. Calm down. Calm down. Relax. I know you're freaked out. I know you thought you had blonde hair and blue eyes. I know you thought you were a descendant of King Richard of England, but you're not white. So whenever I say something that ascribes to the elevation of thinking in the black community, and if somebody comes along and says, well, white people does it too. White people does it too. Well, then I don't understand where that white supremacist mindset comes from because somehow you're acting like white people are the gold standard. That if they do it, then it must be okay cause white folks do it too. White people do it all the time. Well, I just want everybody to understand if you're coming to this platform and you're new, you need to understand that we don't talk about things like integration or equality. We believe in black excellence. We don't really, when you talk to me about white supremacy is fine, but give me a yes if you can agree with this assessment. I said this to my daughter the other day. I said, she mentioned white supremacy. I said, white supremacy sure, it can exist, but white supremacy has nothing of black excellence. That if black excellence and white supremacy were in the NBA finals, black excellence would win every game 145-7. Give me a yes if you agree with me that black excellence can dominate white supremacy any day of the week. You can believe all day that you're superior to me. You can believe that all day. And I respect that. That's fine. I mean, if you go into a competition, you're supposed to think you're going to win. You can think you're going to win all day if you want to. You can think you're going to outsmart me and my whole PhD if you want to. But at the end of the game, when the score is calculated, the truth will reveal itself. I don't care if you think you're superior to me. I'm showing up with black excellence, and I'm just gonna let the chips fall where they may. And this is interesting because, believe it or not, one of the first people I ever heard say that, which I really actually kind of liked it, was actually Oprah Winfrey. And again, Oprah's politics are mixed. Some of y'all like her, some of you don't. It's like a 50-50, right? But that was one thing, that was one area that she got it right. She said black excellence is the great answer, is a great response to white supremacy or racism. Now, again, I'm not saying racism isn't real. I'm not saying white supremacy doesn't exist. I'm saying that black excellence has to appear every time you are confronted with a challenge. If you do that every time, then you're going to win. All right, so do me a favor, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, if you stick around to the end of the video, I found a stock that I like. I just bought a bunch of shares in this company. I'm going to share this with you because, as you know, on this platform, our goal is to make you smarter, make you richer, and make you happier. We will achieve all of those goals. Also, since we're talking about Spotify, my podcast is on Spotify. You can look up Boyce Watkins. All of our content is under that under the Dr. Boyce breakdown. So I also bring in my wife, who is a full professor of social work and a licensed therapist, Dr. Alicia Watkins. And we do pillow talks where we have a male and female balanced perspective, where we talk about all kinds of issues, particularly issues that relate to financial psychology. So if that's of interest to you, feel free to just look up my name on Spotify. Speaking of Spotify, Jemele Hill apparently has this issue with Spotify. Right now, I think she's just a little bit livid with them. I'm going to guess she might be pissed. From what I read, and I'm going to read this article to you, Jemele Hill literally left the network and completely shut down her podcast network. Her podcast network is called Unbothered, and she literally just shut the whole damn thing down. Which was interesting to me. I don't know what the strategy is with that. Maybe there's like some sort of legal ramification that she's dealing with where Spotify, because when they make these deals, they give you a lot of money, but unfortunately these deals become deals with the devil. These deals become deals with the devil because they they come in and they say, okay, we'll pay you a gazillion fulfillion dollars, but we want to own everything you do. We want to own your whole network. We want everything to be completely exclusive and all this other stuff. And again, I don't know what kind of deal Jemele Hill signed, but I'm wondering if that played a part in her decision to shut down her network. And maybe she's just going to come back and, recreate something new with her name and attached to it or whatever, right? Whatever. I don't know. But anyway, from what I read, she's leaving Spotify. She basically there's some stuff about Joe Rogan here. So let me just read some of this to you, because there was actually an accusation, or people have said or claimed, and I don't believe this. I think they're kind of lying on her on this. They claim that she wanted the same money as Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan signed a deal for about $100 million with the platform. Joe Budden is a black man that actually, I believe, he left the network too. He has some gripes with Spotify, and I don't believe she asked for Joe Rogan money. I don't know if she has Joe Rogan numbers, but then again, maybe she did. I have no idea. But anyway, she cleared the air over her alleged exit from Spotify, which reportedly came after she asked for the same amount of money that Joe Rogan is making. Bloomberg reported that Hill is looking for a new home for her Jemele Hill Unbothered podcast, which led to unearthed comments she made in 2019 about wishing the streaming platform gave black podcasters the same money Joe Rogan got in his $200 million deal. Oh, it was $200 million. I thought it was $100 million. However, all the chatter is apparently just speculation based on the tweet Hill posted over the weekend. She says, people, a lot of what's been reported just isn't true. My podcast hasn't been canceled. I never asked Spotify for $100 million. This shit is truly comical. Okay, so they said $200 million deal in this article, but I thought Rogan got $100 million. So she's saying she never asked for $100 million. I don't know. I don't know much about that. I do know that this is kind of a trend. It's very interesting because apparently Spotify has they have like a Negro section of the company. They have like the Negro section where they sign these black podcasters and bring them on the network, and they they pay them money, and they usually give them a fraction of what they pay the white people. Is this due to some sort of pay discrimination? It's debatable, right? Because a lot of pay metrics are based on your numbers, period. Your numbers, right? And one of the things that we have to understand from a business perspective, and give me a yes if you understand this, if you agree, there are far more white people in this country than there are black people. Give me a yes if you agree that there are more white people in America than black people. And so because there are more white people than there are black people, then the addressable audience for a predominantly white podcast is typically going to be greater than the addressable audience for a predominantly black podcast, especially a podcast that takes the time to address black issues. That's why, for example, we have about 1.1 million total subscribers on our different YouTube channels, but that's equivalent to about 10 million white people. That's like having a platform with 9 or 10 million white people. I know I'm never going to have the same numbers as a Joe Rogan because my addressable audience is not as big. His addressable audience is the whole planet. My addressable audience it's not just black people, it's intelligent black people. So you're talking about a niche on top of a niche on top of a niche. And not just intelligent black people, but intelligent black people who have a strong black identity. So that means that most people around the world are not going to listen. That means most white people are not going to listen. That means most black people aren't going to listen, right? I talk to intelligent black people who are forward thinking, who believe in black excellence, who love the black community. And y'all know as well as I do that every black person doesn't love the type of stuff that we might talk about here. Again, I'm a college professor. I can teach you a lot of stuff, but the messenger, it does matter. And I know for a fact that I offend a lot of people. I offend black people. I got banned from Ebony Magazine because I said I'm not voting for a Democrat unless they pay me reparations and unless they do something for the black community. So I know that I'm in a niche on top of a niche on top of a niche. So I would never in my life show up at Spotify and say, I demand Joe Rogan money because my audience is as big as Joe's. No, it's not. No, it's not. We pursue quality over quantity. Now we got some quantity. Don't get me wrong. We got about 500,000 on the email list. We got about 4 million on Facebook. We have a few 100,000 on Instagram. We have again 1.4 million or 1.1 to 1.3 million, something like that, on YouTube channels. We have different platforms that we have. So we got our numbers. Our numbers are solid. But we were very targeted in terms of who we were trying to connect with. We're not trying to connect with everybody. And here's what I'm saying. I don't think Jemele Hill, first of all, I don't think Jemele Hill, I think Jemele Hill's smarter. She's smart enough to understand that her addressable audience isn't the same as Joe Rogan's. Let's just be clear about that. But then second of all, I doubt that she asked for 100 million like Rogan, and she's denying it. So I believe her, and I think that's true. So I think sometimes the media speculates and things go wild. But here's something that wasn't speculation in my book. Jemele seemed to feel that at Spotify, the black folks that sign on contracts with Spotify for exclusive deals are not getting the kind of treatment they thought they'd get. They're not being treated in a way that they deserve. They're not getting what they expected coming into this relationship. So let's process this for a moment. Does any of this sound familiar? Anybody remember this concept called integration? Yeah, integration. In case you don't know, let me give you a quick history lesson. Dr. Claude Anderson writes about integration in his beautiful book called Powernomics. Powernomics. Shout out to Diddy, Charlamagne the God, and Kanye West and Ice Cube for promoting the Powernomics concept. I think every black person on the planet needs to be familiar with Powernomics. And one thing that Dr. Anderson talks about, he's the godfather, he talks about how integration was this time period where white folks reached out and said, we'd love to have some Negroes on our platform. We'd love to have some black people in our space. And we like you. We want to show you that we're not racist. So we're going to bring you in and we're going to treat you well. We're going to treat you fairly. But a couple things have to happen. We got to always be the boss. We'll let you on the bus. We'll let you have a seat. You can even sit at the front of the bus. But it's going to be our bus. We own the bus. We're going to build the bus. We're going to drive the bus, and we're going to decide where the bus is going to go. And if you're okay with that, then you can come on in, right? So we came in saying, okay, he going to let us on the bus, y'all. He gave us a seat. We sitting in the front row, y'all. Look at me. I'm in the front row of the bus. And then next thing you know, you find out that this agreement, this deal you think you made, slowly but surely turns into what feels almost like slavery, or it turns into slowly but surely it starts to feel like oppression. It starts to you start to look over and you start seeing white folks eating the big piece of chicken, and you're getting the little crumbs of chicken. You're getting the you're getting moldy bread, right? You see them eating good. You're eating bad. They're eating at the big boy table. You're eating at the little children's table, right? So effectively, this is what I'm getting at Spotify. I read something here that was absolutely hilarious. They wrote an article, or not an article, but they wrote this internal memo. Apparently, I read this in Bloomberg, I think, where they were literally complaining that that Spotify had allocated $100,000 for their diversity, equity, and inclusion fund. I don't know what the hell that is, but first of all, $100,000 ain't nothing when you're paying Joe Rogan, the white boy who used the N word, by the way. You're paying Joe Rogan $100 million, and you're like, we're gonna allocate $100,000 to diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So the Joe Rogan money's loud. The diversity, equity, inclusion money is very quiet. It's very tiny. It's very little tiny amounts of money, right? And then what's crazy is out of the 100,000, they claim that they only use $5,000 of it. So you want to talk about crumbs on top of crumbs on top of crumbs? That's what it appears, at least according to these reports, that Spotify is kind of doing to its um, its black influencers or whatever, right? And so this is here's the thing though. None of what part of this is surprising to you? What part of this surprises you? This is the way integration tends to work. Dr. Anderson writes about it in Powernomics. You get brought in, and you're brought in as the help, and you get something better than maybe what you had before, but it's not what you deserve. And then you start complaining, and then you get mad. And this is something that happens to almost every single black person on the planet who goes to work for a big white corporation. You almost always end up feeling sad because you're not getting what you're worth, right? And this is what Jemele Hill seems to be implying, and I completely agree with her. I think Jemele Hill is worth a lot. I don't agree with all her politics, but I know somebody that's good at their craft when I see it. I support her because she's a black woman. I want to see her do well. I want to see her make as much money as possible. And but none of this surprises me. Now, speaking of Spotify. My podcast is on Spotify. That I put it on there. I did not make a deal with Spotify. They do not pay me a nickel, but I put it on there because I wanted an extra way, an easy way for you guys to listen to this podcast while you're in your car, right? So if you go to Spotify and you look up my name, Boyce Watkins, you'll find the Dr. Boyce breakdown on Spotify. I have no idea what my numbers are. I have no idea how many subscribers I have. I haven't sat down with Spotify and demanded Joe Rogan money. I know we carry our weight. We make our money elsewhere. Part of the reason we do it that way is because I don't want to be exclusive with you. I don't want you to tell me what to do. I don't want you to censor what I'm allowed to say. I don't even want to I don't want to even be over there like that. I will use what you have going on, but I got 10,000 other ways that I'm reaching my audience, and that's deliberate. That's very deliberate, very specific. And also, I know that Spotify as a general rule isn't going to be interested in a curated audience of intelligent, highly conscientious black people. They're not, and I'm not even mad about that. I'm not mad at them for thinking that. Why in the hell would they be interested in an audience of highly intelligent, highly conscious black people when you can go just get you an athlete that'll appeal to black people and white people because he played for the Dallas Cowboys? Why would you go after the audience of a loudmouth black professor like me when you could just go get you a black comedian who makes white people laugh and black people laugh? Why would you go talk to somebody like me when you can just go get you a rapper, right? So effectively, I'm not mad at the way they do business because their interest in a niche audience like the one we have here is almost like me being interested in a niche audience of of radical Orthodox Jews, like or something. I don't. That's not that I dislike them. That's just not my. Those aren't my people. I don't know anything about that, right? So I think that one of the things that's interesting about these deals, and I watch these deals, and I'm kind of interested and intrigued by how they operate is it seems like they go inside this room, they go inside this black box, and they get these deals that look good on the surface, but then they become slave deals, or they start to feel oppressed. They start to see what free black people look like they see somebody like me yelling and screaming about whatever's on my mind, don't have to ask permission, don't have to be afraid of anything, and they kind of realize that there's an authenticity that comes with the new black media. And when I talk about new black media, I'm talking about people like Vicky Dillard, Tariq Nasheed, etc. And they look at that and they say, man, like those black people are really telling the truth. Those black people are really having fun. Those black people are really making progress. Whereas, so we're kind of like the puppies, like we're like the dogs that are in the woods. Like we're scrapping to get our food, but we're free. We can run and we can jump, we can fight, we can do whatever we want. Whereas you're like the puppy that's sitting inside the nice warm house. Your master has given you a bath that night. He gave you like the best puppy chow available, and you're sitting there nice and comfortable, but you're soft. You're also not able to express yourself because you got a leash around your neck. You're tied to the tree, and so you're sadly, ironically, it's interesting, right? On one hand, you got privilege that the dogs in the wild don't have. They don't have the nice warm place to sleep at night. They're not getting a bath every day. They're not eating the best puppy chow, but they have something that you don't have. Pay attention now. That thing is called freedom. That thing is called freedom. And freedom is beautiful. Freedom is something money can't buy. And so if you're able to, this is one of the things that I want you guys to know my master plan. I've talked to you guys about this. My master plan for the black community is I want you to give your children the gift of freedom, and I want the freedom to be financed. You see, freedom has to be financed. And so if you go to my website, boycewatkins.com, you guys know I'm a finance professor. I have to keep saying, in case you've heard me say this a million times, I have to keep saying that so people don't think I'm just some Negro running his mouth on the internet. I got my doctorate at The Ohio State University. I worked with the best in the world on this. I've studied this problem extensively, and I have simple solutions that can be applied to every family. I have something on my website called the $5 a day investing plan, where you can literally invest less money than it costs you to buy a Popeye's chicken value meal. You do that for your kids or your grandkids, then here's what they're going to get. When they're 25 or 30 years old, they're going to have a couple $100,000 in the bank with the ability to apply that money and earn whatever income they want. They're not going to be selling themselves out for $4,000 or $5,000 a month. They're not going to have to go slave on the corporate plantation, hoping that they can get an opportunity. They're not going to constantly walk around in fear of what white folks are going to think about what they say, because their freedom will have been financed. So freedom must be financed. You have to fight for the freedom. So you have to fight, and almost like a financial battle, a financial fight. That's why concepts like powernomics are extremely important for you to understand, because this is a game of power. So when I see Jemele Hill and I see Joe Budden and I see them fighting with Spotify, get mad like they won't treat me right. They did me wrong. They did me. I care for them. I want to see them do well. But the part of me understands that Spotify got the power. Their power has been financed by their shareholders. I'm a shareholder in Spotify. I got nothing against Spotify. They know how to make money. They have reach. They know how to accumulate and aggregate content in a beautiful way. I have nothing against Spotify. And I have nothing, but I'm in support of the black artists. But at the same time, if you want us to sit around and whine and complain all day about how white people get more money than you, well, I just have news for you. This, again, may surprise you. And the news is that you're not white. You're not white. Spotify is not a black company. Spotify is a company that represents its own interests and does what's best for itself. So again, unless you can clearly prove to Spotify that paying you the same money they paid Joe Rogan will reap the same profitability as Joe Rogan, then they're not going to do it just because they want to be nice to black people. And I think that it's kind of strange. It's really, really, pay attention now. It's really, really ironic and almost delusional if we ever think that a capitalist organization is going to do the right thing for black people just because they like you, right? Or they're going to even, and it doesn't even have to be, we can not even, you don't even have to apply the concept of being black. You can talk about any political issue. Being gay. Let me give you an example. Give me a yes if you're following what I'm saying. Starbucks was like literally the wokest company in America. Starbucks was like mega woke. They would put the like gay rainbow flag up every time it was Gay Pride Month. They put up Black Lives Matter flags on their stores. They did every woke thing you could possibly do to show that they were down for the cause. Why? Well, because it was trendy. At the time, it could get them more customers. All this, right? Well, guess what happened when Spotify or Starbucks. Again, I own shares in Starbucks too. I want to own all these companies that are winning. I'm sorry, Starbucks makes good coffee. I'm a stockholder in Starbucks. They So their workers said, "Oh, well, since you're such a liberal woke company and you care so much about us, we want to unionize. We want to form a union." And that's when Starbucks said, "Whoa, wait a minute, hold up, no, we're willing to be as woke as you are when it comes to just talking or putting up symbolism, But when you're really trying to dig into our money, then that's when we become very conservative. That's when we become hardcore capitalists, because we understand that putting money behind our words is very expensive, and we're not trying to do that. So literally, when there was one store where the workers formed a union at that store, you know what Starbucks did? I kid you not. They shut the store down. So rather than dealing with a unionized store, they just shut the location down completely. And Amazon did that. Amazon just fired a black woman who was leading efforts to unionize at one of the Amazon factories. Why? Well, Amazon's buying 1,000 robots a day because they're trying their best to get human beings out of the equation as much as possible. This is just what they're doing. This is how they think. I'm not saying that it's right. So don't think I'm advocating for it. Don't think that I'm saying that it's the best way to do business. No, I'm not a hardcore capitalist. I think capitalism actually is going to destroy this country at some point. Just in case you want to know, just look at what your government's doing with the debts and everything. But anyway, but I'm just telling you guys that a lot of times when you get into these touchy-feely things, like because you had a movement, a Black Lives Matter movement a couple of years ago, and white people suddenly got sensitive to some piece of your plight, not the entire plight, but just a little piece because they saw the George Floyd video, you think that's going to translate into real economic progress, and then it never does. Right? Or the reason it doesn't is because you need to realize you're never going to get very far by climbing onto someone else's bus. At least right now in 2023, 2033, and probably 2043, black people climbing onto the bus that is owned and controlled by somebody else is not going to lead you to the land of freedom. To get to the land of freedom, you must finance the bus. You must build the bus. You must drive the bus. You must own the bus. You must make the map to decide which way the bus is going to go, because the location you're trying to get to is a very specific location. And for that bus to move, that has to be a freedom bus. A freedom bus must have all degrees of freedom necessary to drive to the specific location it needs to go in order for you to find what you're looking for. White people don't have a bus stop in that neighborhood. They just don't. And I'm not even mad at them for that. I'm not even mad. A lot of white people hear me talking, they get scared. Like, oh my God, there's an intelligent black man who's speaking on our bullshit. No, I don't dislike white people. I don't have time to be mad at you. In fact, you do. I respect whatever you're doing for your own community. I'm trying to wake up my own community to help us understand that you're wasting your time in a lot of these fights. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? Freedom does not come in a McDonald's value meal. Freedom does not come prepackaged. Your specific brand of freedom does not come like as part of some sort of manufactured product. It has to be custom made. It's like a home cooked meal. It's like custom Air Jordans that are made by hand. Like, it can't be created sort of through some systematic process that's owned and controlled by somebody else. So ultimately, when I see this and I see what's going on with them, I really hope that Jamel and Joe Budden and all these other black people that were lucky enough to get these opportunities at Spotify. Again, pay attention now. This is what's sad to me. There are so many black people that are talented enough to be on that platform. There's so many black people I know. I see black folks, like I think I saw Dr. Vibe in here. Dr. Vibe runs one of the best shows I've ever seen. My wife was on his show. He's up in Canada. He loves black people. He does the kind of stuff that black people need, but he doesn't get the numbers that he deserves. Spotify will never look at a guy like that because he's not a rapper. He's not an athlete. He's not a comedian. He's not somebody that has the luxury of being accepted in this integrationist society. So I just personally think that we have to start understanding all the mechanics that are necessary to build the brand of freedom that we need and that we deserve. And if you don't, then you're always going to have these weird scenarios where black folks, his name's Dr. Vibe, Vibe, Victor Ibe. That's how you spell his name. I think everybody should look this brother up because his show's very good. And there's so many others out there. I mean, Dr. Maat, Maat, she's good. There's so many others. Vicky Dillard on the Fly Nubian Queen Network, which, by the way, we have 415,000 subscribers over there. So feel free to go over there and support Vicky. I think that these people need to be supported because they have the freedom necessary to say and do the things that black people really need and to put black people first. I doubt. I don't really believe that a person can exist and have an opportunity in a network like a Spotify and get paid the money they deserve and still put black people first. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that. So what unfortunately occurs is when you become a loudmouth like me, where I literally speak from my soul. I literally tell you exactly what's coming to my mind. I know that there's certain opportunities I will never get, and I'm okay with that. I have figured out how to raise millions of dollars within our own community to do the things we've got to do. We do our All Black National Convention every year. We've had best-selling books. We've reached a billion people in terms of viewership on different platforms. Julian Gordon, another guy that I spoke to this weekend, just a masterful real estate investor, has literally been able to, on his own, without any help from these networks, he's been able to literally help Black families acquire $250 million worth of real estate. $250 worth of real estate. If that's not superhero stuff, I don't know what is. And Julian has been a great partner with us in the Black Business School, where we've helped over 10 million Black people buy their first share of stock. We're doing this. We're getting this done. And if you want to know what part of my superpower was in terms of getting this done, not that I'm a superhero, I believe we're all superheroes. So I'm not saying this in a way that's putting me above anybody else. We're all superheroes. The superpower that I tapped into that God blessed me with was twofold. One, it was my extensive understanding of economics and finance and business models. I did not come into the entertainment space as an entertainer. I came into the entertainment space as a businessman, thinking about distribution, monetization, platform development, all these other things. And then the second piece was that I just wasn't scared. I don't run around in fear of what somebody's going to do to me because of something that I said. I don't care. I just let me get it out. And then if you kill me after I say it, that's cool because the message is already gone. The third thing that drove me was just a love for my community and a love for myself. It's a willingness to kind of say we deserve to be treated in a premium fashion. We don't deserve to be somebody else's afterthought. We don't deserve to get the crumbs. We don't deserve to be in second and third place. We don't deserve to be something that people think about after they finish thinking about themselves. We should be first. And so that's where the whole Black First idea comes from, right? Anyway, going back to this, I promise you guys I give you a stock that I like. And I'm gonna keep that promise to you. And plus I got a meeting that started 20 minutes ago, so I'm totally late for this meeting. But before I do that, I want to point out a Black-owned business to help sponsor this podcast. Dr. Q's FreshBreathClub.com. Dr. Q is an established, well-respected dentist out of St. Louis. I'm sure he's made a ton of money as a dentist already, but he created this Black-owned network with Black-owned dental products. So anybody who brushes your teeth, anybody in here who brushes your teeth or has fresh breath or wants to have fresh breath, go to Dr. Q's FreshBreathClub.com. Not only does he have great Black-owned products that you can buy, but also he has an affiliate program, so you can make money offering his products to other people, and you don't have to ship it, you don't have to deliver it or anything. You just use your affiliate link, and when people buy from him, they're buying from you, so you get 20% of that. So feel free to go to Dr. Q's FreshBreathClub.com and take a look at that. So if you have friends that brush their teeth, then this is for you. All right, so anyway, let me hop in and tell you guys the stock that I like right now. The stock that I just bought is a company called Replimune. Replimune. It's a pharmaceutical company. Their ticker symbol is REPL. REPL. I just bought it. Now, do I think that Replimune do I know for sure that it's going to go up? No, I do not know for sure. There's no guarantees in the stock market, but I put a bunch of money into the stock this morning, and so I thought I would share that with you guys. If you'd like to get more stock picks every single week from the Black Business School, feel free to go to my website, boycewatkins.com. You can do a free trial of my stock market investing class. We meet every Tuesday. You can send me questions. I answer your questions. I want to make you the best investor in your family. Also on that page, there's a free training called How to Make Money Without Working. Feel free to take a look at that. Now, someone says, why don't you teach about life insurance investment? That's a great question. One of our sponsors for today actually is Aisha Verzi, who is a life insurance specialist, Index Universal Life, all that stuff. So feel free to give her a call. That's her phone number right there on the screen. If you can't see it, if you're on Instagram, just go to drboycetv.com and you can check it out. And in terms of talking about insurance on this page, I'm not an insurance expert, but we do have some people like Yolanda Spivey and others that come through. So if you go to the Black Business School, we got experts in all different kinds of areas. So all right, so I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Have a good day. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Take care now. Peace.